Good day. Today I'm gonna be discussing lesson 6 of Node.js. Basically building a web server that handles URL routing. The honey is gonna navigate my session today. So, cool. So basically, mainly touching on routing. So what is routing? It's basically like see, when a client basically sends a request to a specific URL, right, and a specific page is returned after that. That has to do with routing. So that's basically what we're doing, building web server that handles URL routing. So firstly, I have my main.js here. This is where I set up the web server. Then I have my router.js. This basically like handles the URL routing. Then my views over here, which contain the HTML templates, basically the responses that are going to be passed to the front end from the server. So let's first jump into main.js. So of course, firstly, just importing the HTTP, the status code, the router module, as well as this FS, which basically stands for file system. So this is basically used to read the HTML files in our views, right? So the server uses that to read the HTML files. Then here we just setting the content type to HTML, and then in this variable the text is set to plain. Then basically here, this is a function or method custom read file. So basically when a request is basically made, right, a file is basically sent. So this represents the request, basically sent to the server, and the server uses FS, which is what we imported here, so file system, to basically read that file. And when that file is read, then it either passes it as a response to the front end, or if there's an error, then this basically logs that the error has appeared here. Then over here we basically have all the, let me say, the URL routings are basically defined over here. So 3 of them are for the GET request and 1 of them is for the post. So for this one specifically here, it's like when a user basically accesses this URL link, what happens is a GET request is made to the server, and when that happens, right, it reads the file and then it basically just returns the index message as a plain text, like it was set over here. So similar here as well, a GET request will be made, and then as soon as the user enters the index.html URL link, and basically using custom read file, the server reads that index.html and then returns whatever content is in here as the response to the front end. Same with context.html, so you can see it here in the front end basically. So here, that's the first URL pattern. So over here, when the user basically visits this URL pattern, which is the main page, you get this as the response index, as you can see here, right? But if I change it to index.html, what happens is you get a welcome message. That's because it returns the index.html as a response. So as you can see here, there's the welcome message. So it also works the same with context as well. Then there's also a post request that's made to this URL pattern over here, and then it returns posted as the response. That's the main.js, specifically for the web server and how the web server links with the URLs. Then in router.js, wait, Ronnie, do you have anything to add from there?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Cool. So in router.js, like I mentioned, this is basically where the URL routing is being handled mainly, right? So, of course, just importing the status code and setting the text, the content to HTML. Then over here we have a variable routes, which is basically a dictionary. This is basically essentially what this does here is it stores the URL route, right? So you have a method here, which is get, and then within it you have the URL route over here, right? So basically the key over here basically stores this URL route, and it's also a key itself. So within it there's the response here that is passed to the front end. That response is basically this welcome to the info page message as soon as you enter this URL route over here. So if I were to change this to info, then it displays this as the response, welcome to the info page. So yeah, then this key post, which represents the post request, it basically has an empty dictionary over here, so it doesn't have what's this, a URL route over there. Then over here basically we have a function here, a handle function, which is basically an arrow function, right? But we use export so we can allow main.js to basically access this and use it in this file. So over here basically we have a try catch block to manage errors, and within it there's an if statement as well. So it's basically checking if the method and the URL, right, is inside the route object, and we know that route object is over here, right? So when you check if the method is there and the URL is there, if it is, then this function is basically ran, and when that happens, of course there's a request is made and the response is passed to the front end, right? But if the URL pattern is not inside this route, then basically you cannot find that specific file. So it will basically pass this no such file exists in the front end, because you can't find the file within this object. And then it also shows an error as well. So yeah, that's mainly the summary for routing, and how web servers also handle the routing, and yeah, just the relationship between the user accessing the URL patterns and then getting specific information in the front end. Ron, is there anything you want to add before I close?
You said router is what?
What do you mean?
Like router.
Routing.
Yeah.
Oh, what you're asking for the definition, like what routing is.
Yeah.
So I would say like routing is basically like um it obviously has to do with specific links that you try to access. So let's say when a user basically like, let's say you go into index.html, this link, right? Then basically the server will basically receive a request from you and then basically pass a response to the front end. That's the basic routing that happens when you enter a specific page. So like it has to do with requests and responses. As soon as you access a link.
Or
Yeah.
router will do is like now I can put as an operator of like it's an operator of what, but I can put as an operator whatever the get and whatever the function you can see for from line 29 until
Yeah.
through the yeah I can say the router. I mean,
Oh, were you asking what the router is? This over here.
yeah.
Oh, I thought you were asking what the routing means. Oh, okay.
Right, it's the route.
Oh, yeah. This router here, this is basically uh this variable over here, router. And you can see that in router, right? We basically imported the router module, which is here, so that we're able to use the router module within main.js. So we can use those routes that are yeah, basically here. So yeah, this is basically a router. Yeah. So I can see it's used to basically declare each let me say each route over here. So for the gets and the post. Yeah. Yeah. Alright, cool. Anything else? Is there anything else I missed or something I didn't go through? I mean, I think mainly it's just explaining the routing and how it links with the web page. I mean the web server.
No, not routing. I was meant router, so yeah.
Yeah.